Good afternoon and welcome to the continuation of the council meeting on Monday, October the 27th, 2025. At this time, I wanted to just take a moment to provide a territorial acknowledgement. And I recognize that this is the same acknowledgement that we read each week, and that it's become a tradition, and perhaps there's guidance we can receive in the future on maybe fluctuating these acknowledgements in coming weeks and months. We would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather. The land on which we're broadcasting from today is the land traditionally cared for by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Chinootan people. We also acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today. At the beginning of this council meeting, we also pause to think about the needs of our community. May we show wisdom and compassion in all of our decisions. Council disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. There's approval of minutes, September 22nd and September 29th. Any comments on those minutes? Moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Roach. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. There's several items under the consent motion. Looking to see if anyone would like to pull any of those items. Councillor Wright?
Could I please just pull 7A?
Yep. Okay, so did you want to move the other items on the consent?
Yes, I will move the others.
Did anyone want to pull anything else? No. And is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Bodley. All in favor? That is also carried unanimously. So items removed from consent, it was 7A. Councillor Wright, did you want to speak to that piece?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. I just want to commend staff, number one, on the very thorough approach. The drinking water report is always full of a lot of detail, and it's always really gratifying to see that we're getting through the accounting part of it and the legislated responsibilities and have very, very few things to work on. I just want to also note that there are some changing factors that we will be looking at going forward. And one of them is that in 2024, the federal government introduced the drinking water objective of 30 nanograms per liter of 25 different, let's see if I can get this right, polyfluoroalkyl substances, otherwise known as PFAS. That's what you'll see often in news headlines. And so I just wondered whether Mr. McDermott might just comment on that briefly so that we can have that on our radar.
Thank you, Councillor Wright, and through the chair. Yeah, PFAS is really an important issue that's facing the drinking water industry, and that's something that we have communicated with the region on, and there is there's some initial work on that, but I think it's going to be incumbent upon all of us to really be diligent around what that means to the drinking water supply, and groundwater supplies can be particularly impacted. So very, very important, because the treatment for PFAS is it's exotic treatment, and it's not treatment like anything we have in the region right now. So it's actually, as we look at facilities that may need to have specialized treatment, there's going to be significant capital monies that may need to be spent. So I think it's very, thank you for this, for the segue into that issue, because it's not going to be a cheap fix if there is PFAS contamination, and it's going to be really important to be diligent to push for that and make sure that the water supply is safe. So.
And just as a follow-up, I don't think we have Ontario standards yet for that. It's all only at the federal government level. Okay, thank you. And that was it.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? Would you like to move this? Moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Mayor McCabe, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. We're on to staff reports. 9A, release of funding, Columbia Street. Speaking of water and the importance of delivering safe and healthy water, it's the water main replacement from King Street North to Old Post Road. Is there any questions, council, on this item? Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I actually just wanted to have some clarification from staff about the bike lane work on Columbia West and when that would come in relation to this project. Thank you.
I see that we have our transportation team making their way to the table. So Chris and Chris, I'm not sure who's on tap here.
Thank you, through the chair. So the section between Westmount and Fisher-Holman is what you're specifically interested in, Councillor Rowe. That is outside the project limits for the water main work. So as soon as the region's work is completed from Westmount eastwards, the active transportation team would generate the project to complete the cycling lanes all the way to Fisher-Holman. As soon as we can after that, we'll just let their project get finished and then we can come in and do the rest. So it will automatically follow.
That's great. Thanks so much.
I guess, Mayor McCabe.
Thank you. And just a question with regard to the active transportation, and I realize the region's leading the work, but could you just, I understand the order in which the work has to be done, but how long approximately would that, do you think it'll take? And then my other question is, when the work is done, like I think there's a real need for some signalized intersection, like there's pedestrian crossings at, I think it's Old Post, somewhere along there, but they're not signalized. So when this work is done, could signalized the pedestrian crossings be created? Okay.
Yeah, through you, Chair, to Mayor McCabe. I can answer the first part of that question as far as the timing goes. So they're looking, the region's water main project should be 26, 27 construction, depending on the surface asphalt, when that goes down. The AT, the rest of it would be done in 27, potentially 28 if the surface asphalt doesn't get done until then. So then final line painting would be done at intersections, and the linear line paint would be done probably either late 27 or early 28 would be the timing for that. As far as this signalization and pedestrian crossings, I can let Bob take that one.
Thank you, through you, Chair Freeman, to Mayor McCabe. So signalized intersections, we can certainly take that back and have a look at the need for where they might, where demand might exist, where signals would be required, either pedestrian signals or full traffic signals. However, if we undertake any studies and we determine there's a need, we would have to follow up through the region of Waterloo, who would confirm the need for traffic signals and then install them. As part of this contract, there's no particular identification for signals at this time, but that doesn't mean we can check and follow up with the region on.
Okay, thanks. I really, and I probably wasn't very clear, sorry. I meant like there's already a pedestrian crossing around Old Post Road, and could that be signalized at some point?
And again, we would have to undertake the appropriate studies and then work with the region to have them confirm whether it be signalized or not.
Okay. Thank you.
And other questions? Councillor Rowe.
Thank you. I'm just going to go back to Chris and Chris. I forgot to ask about the greater, like we had talked just a little bit on email about a broader transportation plan with the hospital coming. So I'm wondering if you could just touch on that a little bit, please.
Yeah, through you, through the chair, to Councillor Rowe. Yes, recognizing that Columbia Street has seen and continues to see a lot of change in land use from King West all the way to at least Urbsville. And so it's important that, we look at that as a corridor in the future. These bike lanes that we're putting in as an interim solution, probably quite a lengthy interim solution, but we are cognizant that it does need a more of a corridor study, very similar to the Gateway study that was done for University Avenue a couple of years ago. So we will bring that forward as a project, as a study through the next budget cycle.
Great, thanks so much.
Other questions? Well, I have a question, but it is related to the water main, not active transportation. So I remember years ago, we had done all the work on Columbia Street to update it to the 4-lane cross-section that it's in. And then we promptly cut into Columbia Street all along the road to undertake T intersections and valves to supply properties that were being upzoned, essentially. So I guess my question is, in this design, are we designing for those future potential upzone lands in that stretch between King and Old Post that could increase, so near Rose Street and along there? And then also, have we given consideration to just putting in valves or valve boxes in the line so that we don't have to dig up the road, so that we bring the valve box at least to the edge of the property where we anticipate upzoning? And also for the hospital. I'm not sure which way we're feeding the hospital, whether it's coming from Behringer or off of Columbia, but I would hate, it's really tough to see this work happen, and then we go in and we tee into these mains later, and we just chop the road all up.
Thank you. So when it comes to stubbing out new services in areas where we don't have defined development plans, we often find that proves to be more problematic than helpful, because along with the water service, we would also have a sanitary service to go along with that. And so if we're going to try and predict where a given development may require a service set, if we're wrong, then we just have now dead ends waiting for infiltration or leaks or anything like that. So largely we don't try to predict that. If we have something known, we would, that's a different story. We have a general idea of where the servicing would go. But when we have no known plans, we don't tend to stub off of the main lines. What we will have is a kind of parallel city main and region main, which are offset so that there's clear ownership and availability for connection. But as far as trying to predict future development, we're not putting in stubs of that nature.
Thanks. My next question is related to the construction, and is there a commitment here that we're going to maintain the cross sections so that at least we'll have through traffic at all times, as opposed to what happened on Herb Street where it was going to be closed for 6 months and it was 18 months, and yeah.
Councillor Freeman, through through the chair. Yeah, I do believe that we'll have access or traffic most of the time, at least on the south side of the road, while the work occurs on the north side of Columbia Street. There will be some disruptions, short-term disruptions during construction, especially during the crossing at the LRT tracks. There will be some need to close both directions for a period of time. That's all.
Okay. I'm just gonna reiterate that maintaining the cross-section in an open state is critically important. And, when we did Davenport Road, I was told we have to close the road. And I got told that on the Wednesday before the long weekend in September. And the question became, who is gonna tell the school board that all the buses that are picking up the kids on Davenport Road are gonna be rerouted in 2 days' time? At which time the answer was, we're gonna have to obviously keep the road open. So if you can keep the road open for the school buses, we can certainly keep the road open for others. And so I'm just putting a placeholder in on these things, and Chris will know and work, and so that we need to be purposeful in terms of how we're rerouting non-combustion based or ice-based equipment on that road. So cyclists, pedestrians, how are we communicating those detours? How are we maintaining access and all of those kinds of things? It's really important. And I think we've got a lot of experience to lean into on how to do that well. So I think that was, I remain concerned. I hear what you're saying about putting in stubs. I really am, but I remain concerned about how quickly these roads are gonna get chewed up again, and I hope there can be some coordination with the development team to kind of say, when is the zoning anticipated to be completed? What might be in early stages of pre-consultation with the development team, and whether we can give consideration to servicing those pieces as a part of this. I just getting on a dead horse here.
It. And just for an example, we have seen two proposed 44-foot story towers on Columbia. So that's an example there, which would be something perhaps if we can look at in advance. And also just a question, I know a period of time is very general for closing, like say the whole road had to be closed. What could that mean? Like, does that mean a week, or does that mean a month, or you just don't know at this point?
Councillor Rowe through the chair. At current, we anticipate about 2 to 3 weeks for the closure, but that's still a wild estimate at this point because we haven't gotten through the detailed design phase. And yeah, we haven't even hired a contractor at this point. So once that's in place and we have a contractor, we can probably get more details.
Okay, thank you.
As part of the design, have we undertaken environmental boreholes to look for contamination along the corridor?
To the chair, yes. There was a geotechnical assessment completed with a lot of borehole analysis and review of the crossing, 2 crossings that we will be undertaking for the water main project.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there someone who is, moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Mayor McCabe? All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Council, we stand adjourned until 6:30 this evening.